Greetings everybody. Today's class is about cardiovascular system and properties of cardiac muscle. And I am Dr. Mudassar, Assistant Professor of Physiology, who would going to teach you about the above said topic. The specific learning objectives of today's class are, at the end of the class, the medical undergraduate students should be able to explain the components of cardiovascular system, enlist and illustrate the properties of myocardium, and learn accordingly. Cardiovascular system consists of heart, blood vessels, and the blood flowing inside it, the fluid connective tissue. The heart actually is a pump which acts as a driving force pushing the blood through these blood vessels to circulate into the body. This heart actually consists of two pumps working in series, the right pump and the left pump. The right pump receives deoxygenated blood from the body and pumps it to lungs for oxygenation, whereas left heart receives the oxygenated blood from the lungs and pumps the oxygenated blood to different parts of the body. It pumps via aorta, which divides and subdivides to form arteries. Arteries divide to form arterioles. Arterioles further divide to form capillaries, a network of capillaries which form fine thin tubes around the tissue which supply the nutrients to the tissue. From capillaries, these capillaries basically they join and form venules, veins, and large inferior and superior vena cava, which act as a capacitance vessels and which bring back the deoxygenated blood back to the heart. Now coming to the structures inside the heart, it consists of mainly four chambers and two muscles. The upper muscle is called as atrial muscle and lower muscle is called as ventricular muscle, which is separated by a fibrous sheet. The atrial muscle is further divided by a interatrial septum, as you can see here. This is the interatrial septum into right atrium and left atrium. Right atrium receives the deoxygenated blood via superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. It also contains SA node, which acts as a pacemaker at which the heart beats, and AV node, which conducts the impulse generated in SA node to ventricles. Blood from the right atrium flows to ventricles via atrioventricular orifices, which is guarded by tricuspid valve. On the left side, the left atrium receives the oxygenated blood from lungs via pulmonary veins, and this oxygenated blood flows from the left atrium to left ventricle via left atrioventricular orifice, which is guarded by mitral valve, which is a bicuspid valve. Now, the structure below atrium is ventricle. Now, this ventricle is again separated by interventricular septum. Right ventricular pumps the blood to lungs via pulmonary artery, whereas left ventricle pumps the blood into the systemic circulation via aorta. The orifice between the pulmonary trunk, aorta, and the ventricles is guarded by semilunar valves. Comparatively, left ventricle, as you can see here, it is more muscular when compared to right ventricle. Now let us see the functional anatomy of heart valves. The main function of heart valves is to allow unidirectional flow. The atrioventricular valves, which guard the atrioventricular orifice, opens towards the ventricle and close towards the atria, which allows the blood to flow from atria to ventricles. Now, the valve present on right atrioventricular orifice is called as tricuspid valve, which has got three cusps. the anterior cusp, posterior cusp, and the septal cusp. The left atrioventricular orifice is guarded by bicuspid valve, which is also called as mitral valve. It has got only two cusps, anterior and posterior. The orifice between the ventricles and the great vessels is guarded by semilunar valve, which has got three semilunar cusps, as you can see here in this picture. Now moving on to the structure of wall of the heart. The wall of the heart from outer to inner consists of following structures. The outermost covering of the heart is called as pericardium. Now pericardium has got two layers. The inner layer, which is called as a serous pericardium, visceral layer, and then the outer layer, which is called as fibrous pericardium or parietal layer of pericardium. Between the two pericardial layers is pericardial cavity, which is filled with pericardial fluid, which lubricates the movement of heart. Inside the inner layer of pericardium is the myocardium, and innermost layer of myocardium is called as endocardium. That's all about the structure of wall of the heart. Now let us see what are the components of this myocardium. This myocardium is mainly composed of cardiac myocyte. As you can see, this is the histological picture of a cardiac myocyte. It consists of a striated muscle cell. Here you can see cross striations are present on it. That's why it is called as it is classified under striated muscle group. It has got centrally located nucleus, and near the branching you can see a thick disc-like structure present, which is called as intercalated discs. These intercalated discs have got gap junction, which allow easy flow of electrical impulse from one cardiac myocyte to another cardiac myocyte, so that all the muscles in the heart get activated by the easy or free flow of this electrical impulse across the cardiac myocyte at once. Hence, the cardiac myocyte and myocardium is said to function as a functional syncytium. Now moving on to what are the important functions subserved by cardiovascular system in our body. It helps in distributing the nutrients to all parts of the body. It collects the waste products, metabolic byproducts, and carbon dioxide from different tissues and carries them to excretory organs to be excreted. It helps in maintaining the body temperature, that is thermoregulation, by redistributing the blood from the acral peripheral part of the body, which is exposed to environment, to the core part of the body where the temperature exchange can occur, and the temperature of the body as a whole is maintained constant. Next important function subserved by cardiovascular system is distribution of hormones from endocrine glands to the target tissues. It also helps in defending against the foreign body and invading organisms by delivering the antibodies, platelets, and leukocytes to the area where the invading organisms have come. Now moving on to the properties of cardiac muscle. Here is the list of properties of cardiac muscle. Number 1, autorhythmicity, excitability, all-or-none phenomena, long refractory period, conductivity, contractility, extrasystole and compensatory pause, staircase phenomena, length tension relationship or Frank-Starling law, and load velocity relationship. Last but not the least, the distensibility of this cardiac myocyte. These are the characteristic features of cardiac myocyte, or in other words, the properties of cardiac muscle, which are the unique features of cardiac myocyte. First, let us see what do you mean by autorhythmicity. It is a property of cardiac muscle by virtue of which it initiates its own impulse at regular intervals, even when it is completely denervated. What does it mean? If you isolate a cardiac muscle, it can beat on its own automatically. Now this cardiac myocyte not only beats automatically, it discharges the impulse at a regular interval. Forming a rhythm. That's why this unique property of cardiac muscle is called as autorhythmicity. Now this autorhythmicity is due to modified cardiac muscle fibers. This auto generation of this impulse is due to presence of pacemaker tissue, which is a specialized modified cardiac muscle which generates and conduct impulses at regular intervals at which the heart beats. Next property is excitability. Excitability is the property of cardiac muscle by virtue of which it responds by producing action potential and shortening or contraction when it is stimulated by suitable stimulus, which could be mechanical, thermal, chemical or electrical. In case of human heart, generally it is the nerve impulse, that is electrical impulse generated in pacemaker tissue located in sinoatrial node in the right atrium. Now, as I have stated here that the cardiac myocyte is excitable only if suitable stimulus is given, which means that it follows all or none law. It responds as a whole or it will not respond at all. Now this all or none law states that only a threshold or a suitable stimulus can elicit a response. A subthreshold stimulus fails to elicit a response. When suprathreshold stimulus is given, response is same as that of threshold stimulus provided experimental conditions are same over the muscle fiber. Now moving on to the components of cardiac muscle action potential. The cardiac muscle action potential, cardiac myocyte, has a resting membrane potential of -90, which also sometimes fall down to -85. But in conducting tissue and pacemaker, it is quite variable. That I will be discussing later. So the cardiac action potential has a resting membrane potential of -90 millivolts. It has following four phases. Phase 0, that is rapid depolarization phase. Then phase 1, where there is initial rapid repolarization. Then there is a plateau phase, which is phase 2, and there is slow repolarization, which is termed as phase 3, and phase 4 is a phase where it repolarizes and returns to resting membrane potential. The duration of action potential in cardiac myocyte is very long, that is 200 milliseconds. Now, action potential, as I was speaking earlier, in the pacemaker tissue, the junctional tissue which initiates the pace at which heart beats or initiates the impulse at which heart beats is quite different. It has got three phases, that is phase 0, rapid depolarization phase, slow repolarization phase, and this the phase in which the membrane potential reaches to baseline. The peculiarity of action potential seen in pacemaker tissue is that the membrane potential after reaching the baseline automatically declines to firing level, automatically declines or rises itself to firing level and generates a impulse, which is called as pre-potential or pacemaker potential. So pre-potential or pacemaker potential is a membrane potential of cardiac myocyte, membrane potential of pacemaker tissue of cardiac myocyte or pacemaker tissue that after each impulse declines to firing level after it reaches the baseline. That is pacemaker potential. Now moving on to another property, that is refractory period. What do you mean by refractory period? Refractory means the person or anything which is non-responsive. In a similar way, cardiac myocyte is also non-responsive for a brief period. The period after stimulation, the brief period during which the cardiac muscle is not excitable or non-responsive to another stimuli or subsequent stimulus is called as refractory period. It is subdivided into absolute refractory period and relative refractory period. The refractory period of ventricular muscle is generally very long. Why? Because the mechanical activity and electrical activity are almost occurring simultaneously in the cardiac muscle. On the contrary, in skeletal muscle, the mechanical activity occurs after the electrical activity. So that is the reason why the ventricular muscle, the cardiac muscle, has a long refractory period which prevents it from getting tetanization. What do you mean by tetanization? Tetanization is sustained contracted state of a muscle. Now, this sustained contracted state of muscle is achieved if the muscle is responsive to another uh, uh, a battery of impulses coming at a very high frequency. It stays contra it responds by contracting, and the contractions are such that the contraction state fuses with one another and forms a state called as tetanus. Now, in cardiac myocyte, as it has got a very long refractory period, and due to this long refractory period, it is non-responsive to second stimulus. This fusion of contractions might not occur in heart. So due to long refractory period, the heart is non-tetanizable. Next important property is conductivity. The cardiac muscle conducts the impulse that is generated in the heart. The impulse generally it is generated in SA node. That's why it is called as pacemaker of the heart. And this impulse generated is conducted throughout the heart. This conduction is due to presence of gap junctions. As I have stated earlier, these gap junctions are present near the intercalated discs. Yes, the intercalated discs near the branching of the cardiac myocyte. Therefore, all the muscle fibers, due to presence of this gap junctions, the cardiac impulse is conducted via the gap junction. The electrical impulse is conducted via the gap junctions. Therefore, all the fibers contract almost simultaneously. Now, this conductivity property is demonstrated by Stannis ligatures, in which the ligature is tied around the SA node, the another Stannis ligature, and then whether the heart beats or not, it is studied. It was found that the heart stops beating for brief period, then it starts beating again. Now, this beating again of this heart is due to presence of the junctional tissue, which generates its own impulse. The conductivity property in the cardiac myocyte was studied by using Stannis ligatures, in which the Stannis ligatures were tied around in the different location of the heart and was observed whether they contract or not. It was found that each and the smallest cardiac myocyte also can conduct the impulse and generate its own impulse. Next property is contractility, the property of cardiac muscle fiber by virtue of which it shortens or contracts on stimulation. So this is the cardiac action potential, which has phase 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and this is the mechanical activity which coincides with the electrical activity. Now, as the mechanical activity coincides with the electrical activity, that's why there is a very long refractory period, and that is the reason why the heart is non-tetanizable. Next is the extrasystole and compensatory pause. When sufficiently strong stimulus is applied in a relative refractory period, that is this period, in the period during which there is relative refraction in the cardiac myocyte in experimental conditions, there is an extra contractile response. Here we can see a extra contractile response, which is called as extrasystole. Now, as this extrasystole is falling for now, the natural stimulus would fall in the refractory period of this extrasystole. It does not evoke any response. Now here you can see, now the natural impulse which is coming from the SA node falls in the refractory period of this extrasystole. So you can see a pause which is called as compensatory pause. So this is another property, unique property possessed by cardiac myocyte, That is, when it is stimulated during the relative refractory period, it responds by generating a extra systole and a compensatory pause. Next is the staircase phenomena. This phenomena is seen in quiescent heart when the heart is not beating. In quiescent heart, if it is stimulated repeatedly, keeping the interval of the stimuli less than 10 seconds, we can see that the magnitude of first 3 to 4 contraction progressively increases. Now this increase in magnitude is called a staircase phenomena. This is basically increase in contractility is due to beneficial effect. Now the subsequent contraction is benefiting from the contraction that is occurring previously. That's why it is called as beneficial effect. And this increase in increase in force of contraction progressively can be seen as a staircase. That's why it is called as staircase phenomena. Now the staircase phenomena is due to beneficial effect. The molecular basis behind beneficial effect is uh, during initial contraction, whatever calcium is released stays back in the cytoplasm before it is sequestrated into sarcoplasmic reticulum. If another stimuli is given, there is additional amount of calcium released from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. So now there is additional amount of calcium released into the cytoplasm from sarcoplasmic reticulum. For example, if 10 calcium molecules were released in the initial contraction, if a contraction or if a stimulus is given immediately within 10 seconds, then additional calcium ions would be released, which would contribute to somewhere around 10 to 15 calcium ions. This is hypothetical values I am saying, hypothetical values. So now roughly around 20 to 25 calcium ions are there, which would help in better contraction, better interaction of actin myosin, and better contraction, which would increase the force of contraction. That is the molecular basis of this staircase phenomena. Another important characteristic feature shown by cardiac myocyte is the Frank-Starling law, or relationship between the initial length of the muscle and the tension developed in it. According to Frank-Starling law, the force of contraction is directly proportional to the initial length of the muscle fiber within physiological limits, which means that as the initial length of the muscle increases, the force of contraction increases. Now, why do this happen? You can see here in this graphic, this is a molecular structure of contractile filaments present inside the cardiac myocyte. These black lines are the actin filament and the blue lines are the myosin filament. When the calcium binds with them and ATP is utilized, they interact and they bring these Z lines together closer and contraction occurs. These Z lines are brought closer and the contraction occurs. As you can see in this graphic, if we suppose that initial length of the muscle is only this much, the initial length of the muscle between the two Z lines is only this much. So the myosin would interact only for this much distance, from this point to this point only, if the muscle is allowed to contract by imparting a stimulus. Now if the distance between the two Z lines is increased, if the distance between two Z lines is increased, suppose this blue structure is brought to this level, this point is brought to this point, then what would happen? There is a chance of better interaction between this blue structure and the black structure, which would slide over from this point to this point, from this point to this point. So Z line would be moving from this point to this more distance. The Z line would be moving, apparently moving for a more distance, as its initial length between these two subsequent Z lines is increased. As they move more, there is better contraction. There is more contraction generated in the cardiac myocyte and better force of contraction seen or better tension developed inside the cardiac myocyte. That is why as the initial length of the muscle increases, there is more and more interaction between actin and myosin contractile filaments, which would then generate better tension developed in the cardiac myocyte. That's how the cardiac myocyte obeys the Frank-Starling law. That is, the initial length of as the initial length of the muscle increases, the force of contraction or tension developed inside the muscle increases, which is within the physiological limits. Now, the initial length of the muscle for cardiac myocyte is decided by venous return, the amount of blood returned by the veins. If more blood is returned, it pumps in a better way. If less blood is returned, less amount of blood is pumped, less tension is developed in the cardiac myocyte. So that's all about Frank-Starling law. Now moving on to another important property, that is load velocity relationship. This is the relationship between the velocity of shortening of fiber to the load imparted on the muscle. The velocity of contraction is inversely proportional with the load that acts against it. That is the another simple property which is possessed by cardiac myocyte. Now to summarize, the cardiovascular system consists of a pump and a series of blood vessels which pump the fluid connective tissue which distributes the nutrients and oxygens to the different parts of the body and brings back the metabolites to the excretory organs of the body. The central component of cardiovascular system consists of a pump, that is heart, and this heart contains myocardium. Myocardium has cardiac myocyte which possesses unique properties. What are they? Autorhythmicity, excitability, obeying the Hallerman phenomena, refractory period, conductivity, contractility, then extrasystole and compensatory pause, staircase phenomena. It obeys Frank-Starling law, and it also shows a load velocity relationship. If you have got any doubts, please put it in the comment section.